Hello everyone, this is Christopher from Gizchina and I am here with the Elephone P2000 and I had a look at this phone for quite some days now and I want to show you how it performs, what it can do and if it's worth the money. It actually is one of the most affordable Android 4.4 Kitkat phones when not going only after the price but also comparing the specs it offers for the money. So this one is priced at around 220 bucks or 160 euros, and well, it features quite a lot like a fingerprint sensor, NFC, as I said, Kitkat, an octa-core processor, 2 GB of RAM and 16 GB of internal memory. So let's have a closer look and I'll tell you how this guy performed. So let's put the phone aside for a while and let's first have a look at the packaging. This is how it looks. It's black with the Elephone logo on top. And yes, it's looking rather nice in my opinion. We have some imprint on the rear saying keep expecting and be surprised. Well, I was a bit surprised with this phone because it did a lot of good stuff but also has some flaws, but more about this later. Let's open the box and see what's inside. Well, here the phone was placed as you have seen in the unboxing video if you watched that already. And it comes with a second screen protector. One is applied to the screen out of the box. And we have a user manual which is in English language, well made. And we have a white micro USB cable for charging and data transfer to your computer. And we have a wall charger, which in my case has an European plug. Let me just pull that open to show you that. Here you go. And well, that's it. There are no headphones or cases or something. But well, I'm fine with that. Headphones are usually crap with Chinese phones and cases. I don't use them. Whoever's using them might want to purchase an additional case when ordering the phone. Now let's have a look at the Elephone P2000, and as you can see it looks quite similar to Nokia Lumia phones. My unit is yellow and it has a completely black screen, and as you can see on the front we have a status LED which is flashing right now. We have a phone call speaker, we have some sensors, and of course we also have a front camera, and on the bottom you see 3 soft touch buttons for menu, home and back. These are not back illuminated unfortunately, but as they are in red you can see them quite well, so that's not a problem. So let's have a look at the left side, and here we only see the usual volume rocker that you find on the left with most phones. And as you can see, it's silver, but it's actually not metal, it's plastic. On the lower side you can see a voice microphone and a little gap to pull the rear cover off. And as you can see, this material here has some kind of a pattern. You can also hear that when I scratch my fingernail on it. And yes, it does look really nice. And on the right side we find a on-off switch, again silver but again made from plastic. On top we have the same material as on the bottom, but we have a micro USB port here and a headphone jack, and this micro USB port actually does support OTG as well. When looking at the rear you immediately notice the fingerprint reader which is below the camera and the LED flash. This is looking almost the same as we know it from the Vivo X shot. We have the Elephone logo below it, and here on the bottom we have a opening for the media speaker. So let me pull off the rear, and as you can see here we have an NFC antenna here which connects to these 2 contacts. Then we have a micro SIM slot, a micro SD card slot, and below those 2 slots is another slot for a normal sized SIM card. And here we have the media speaker, and this is the battery of the phone. Let me pull that out quickly. And it has a capacity of 2650 milliamps. This does appear to be quite a lot, but I somehow don't believe that it has that much because it is a lot thinner than the battery that came with the Kingzone K1 Turbo, and this one was also supposed to feature 2600 milliamps. So also the weight is not pretty high and the battery life is also not as good. So this is for sure not a 2650 milliamps battery. This is more of 2000 or 2100 milliamps. So that being said, let me quickly talk about build quality. Well, in my opinion, it's pretty good for the price. Of course, it's all plastic, but it does look nice. The build quality is not the most precise one, as you can see a little bit here, but all the other stuff is pretty much perfect. Nothing is clattering around when I shake the phone, and it also is pretty solid when I try to bend it. So all in all, it's pretty well made for the price. Now let's have a look at the screen, and as I said, this is a 5.5 inch screen with a 720p resolution. Now this is not much for the screen size, and well, 1080p would have been better, but actually the screen is not bad at all for the low resolution. It has a great color reproduction, a great sharpness, great contrast, and the brightness is pretty good as well. You can read it under direct sunlight, surprisingly, and well, the pixels are pretty small and you can actually see them when you come very close, like around 8 to 10 centimeters away from the phone, but if under normal usage you won't notice them, and I can show you to them through the camera. So here you can see it is still acceptable, and let's have a quick look at the viewing angles, and you can see this is an IPS screen. This is working very good, and you can see pretty much everything from every viewing angle, so this is definitely good. What I have to say is that the digitizer unfortunately is not the best one. It works good if you apply a decent amount of pressure, as you can see here, but if you just do very slight touches, it starts to go nuts, as you can see here. Now it has clicked something, so you always have to apply a decent amount of pressure, else it won't work perfectly. And what I also did notice is that it sometimes has issues when doing multi-touch, like when playing games, one finger for moving the camera around, one finger for moving the character around. You sometimes have issues that the character suddenly starts moving in some direction you don't want it to be. So the digitizer is definitely not the best, but it does not make the phone unusable. You just have to take care that you apply a decent amount of pressure. So that being said, let's switch over to performance, and I have to say that I'm surprised how smooth Android 4.4 Kitkat works on the MT6592 processor. The operating system is very smooth. You don't have any lags here. It's very snappy. Everything works just fine here, as you can see. And let me just quickly prove you that this is Kitkat. I tap onto the Android version several times and the Easter egg pops up. So here we go, Android 4.4.2 Kitkat. It does not support over-the-air updates, by the way. So let me just quickly show you loading some large websites like Gizchina, for example. And as you can see, this is working very fast and scrolling works very smooth. Let me open up CNN.com, and this is also working perfectly fine. So as you can see, browsing is a lot of fun and very fluid. It's not a problem, also multitasking and so on. Okay, enough about real-life performance. Let's quickly look at some benchmark results, and here the results are a bit low for a 720p MT6592 based phone. Why? Because I think that they clocked the processor down a bit to reduce the heat the phone generates. With enabled CPU power saving, it gets around 24,827 points in Antutu, and when I disable power saving, it doesn't get much more. It's just a bit over 25,000, so it's not that much, but it doesn't sacrifice performance, to be honest with you. For heat generation, it unfortunately doesn't do much. It still gets quite hot, especially around the fingerprint sensor when doing CPU and GPU intensive tasks, so this is still an issue. So let's have a quick look at the ranking table, and here we see that we are between the Samsung Galaxy Note 2 and the HTC One. Let me open up another benchmark, the 3D Mark benchmark, and here the Elephone P2000 reached a score of 70.25 for the iStorm Limited benchmark, 48.41 for the iStorm Extreme benchmark, and 68.27 for the iStorm benchmark. And the next benchmark is the Vilemo benchmark, and here the phone reached a score of 1400 points in the multi-core test and 954 points in the metal test, and unfortunately the browser benchmark is lost all the time. I don't know why, it seems to be a bug in the latest Vilemo version. Last benchmark is GFX Bench, and here the Elephone P2000 reached scores of 824 in the T-Rex test, 1346 points in the ALU test, and 2108 points in the alpha blending test. So, well, that's average for a MT592 phone. So that's about performance. So now I want to talk a bit about the audio quality of the phone, and I'm sorry I pressed play, and well, it does sound okay for the price regarding the internal speaker. It's pretty loud. Let me just do a quick demo on that. So it does not sound overly loud, but at least it doesn't overdrive the speaker, so that's not bad at all. Audio quality is pretty clear, and there even is a little bit of bass playback, so that's not bad at all. What I dislike a little bit is the audio output through the headphone jack. It's a bit weak. For sure it is still fun listening to music with that, but it's not overly loud. It's not that balanced, and it's also not that clear. It's still acceptable, but not as far as good as with some other phones in the higher price range, or even a Oppo Find 7 or OnePlus One. So, well, this is a bit disappointing, but you can't be mad at the phone actually for that. So now after I showed you some of the audio quality, let's talk about reception quality, and here I have to say that I was quite impressed by the Elephone P2000. Let's start with Wi-Fi reception. This is working perfectly, and I'm actually above the router, at the floor above the router now, and I still have full Wi-Fi signal. When I did a test with the OnePlus One, this one actually had no Wi-Fi reception here, so this is surprising. The antenna is really good. I have no problems with it in the whole house. This is very good, and even outside in the garden or the backyard it's still working perfectly well, and this did really impress me, to be honest. Bluetooth is also working perfectly fine with this phone, with a range of around 15 to 18 meters under free view, so this is not bad at all. And NFC does also work flawlessly. You often have issues with Chinese phones that you have to perfectly align the antennas of both phones to get it working. This is not the case here. I tried it with a Oppo N1. I just touched them together and it did work without any moving around or something. So that's pretty good. And what I also liked really much about the Elephone P2000 is the reception quality of GSM and WCDMA or 3G. This did work perfectly fine during my test. I always had full GSM signal, and this is really something that is not the case with every phone. And also 3G is working perfectly fine. Let me just do a quick 3G connection here, and as you can see, boom, we have H+ with full reception quality. And most phones here at this floor do only reach around 2 to 3 bars with H+ or only H. So this is really surprising how well this thing performs, and it's not a display bug or something. As you can see here, internet via the mobile connection is working perfectly fine. So well, I'm really impressed with this, and also the audio quality during phone calls is really good because of the good reception quality. Everything is clear and nice. The only thing I noticed is that the phone call speaker here on the top does overdrive a little bit if the other person is shouting in the microphone a little bit, but well, you can definitely live with that. You don't need the most perfect high-end audio quality for your phone calls. It's enough if you can understand and if you are understandable, and this phone definitely does a good job with that. Now let's talk about GPS reception quality. So the weather has been really bad during the past few days here, and well, it has been really cloudy, and because of that the GPS reception quality was a bit limited with every phone here, even if it has a very good GPS antenna. And I compared it a little bit, and the Elephone P2000 actually did quite a good job. It got 6 satellites outside and an accuracy of 4 meters, which is very good. As you can see, the signal strength was pretty high as well. But inside the house, of course, I didn't get any fix anymore, just because of the cloudy sky, but this was the case for most phones as well. So yeah, it's pretty good, and you shouldn't get any issues with that. The fix was also pretty fast, just a few seconds and it had a fix, so very good. And what is also noteworthy here is that the e-compass is working pretty well, even though it is not very accurate. It always is a few degrees wrong, so you probably shouldn't go hiking with it. But if you just need a hint to the right direction, this does a pretty good job. So we are used to see non-working e-compasses in low-cost phones, so well, this is a plus in my opinion here with the Elephone P2000. So before we move on with other generic stuff about the Elephone P2000, let's have a look at some of the features that make this phone special, and that would first be the fingerprint sensor on the rear. So you can configure this one in the settings here under finger scanner, and I have used it to unlock the phone right now. Here we have a fingerprint manager. You can unlock this by swiping your finger on the rear. This doesn't work quite well if you have sweaty fingers. It's quite hot here right now. Now I've got it. And if you have dry fingers, it does work better. So if you want to add a new one, you simply click the plus, and then it asks you to swipe your finger on the rear for several times, and this does work quite well. You just swipe it, swipe it, swipe it until all bars are green, and then you have added a new fingerprint. So when you then power up the phone, it asks you for the fingerprint, then you swipe your finger on the rear, and then it should recognize it. Now it didn't. Let me just quickly dry up the finger. So you see, this is annoying if you have sweaty fingers. So this is probably not the best solution in summer, but in winter it should work pretty fine. Gosh, that's annoying. Usually it's working just fine, and now it doesn't work at all. Holy what's that? So as you can see, it's not working the very best. Sometimes it helps if you move the finger a bit slowly. So now it recognized it. So as you can see, dirty or sweaty fingers are definitely an issue here. And this is probably not for everyday use. But if you really want a secure lock screen, this might still worth it for you. So let's have a look at other features like gesture sensing. Well, I can enable this one, but it won't do anything. I can show you that in the gallery. Let's enable it for the gallery, and let's open up the gallery, and let's pull up some Ultra HD pictures, and as you can see, it does nothing. It does not work. Don't know if the sensor for this phone is broken or if it is not working at all for all phones, but gesture sensing is definitely not usable. Don't know why. What I miss personally is the ability to wake up the phone with double taps or with drawings. This is basically supported by Android 4.4 Kitkat, but is not supported with this phone. So that's a bit sad, and I would like that to have, but well, you can live without that actually. So let's talk about camera quality, and the Elephone P2000 can take pictures with 30 megapixels, but this is actually an interpolated value. The native resolution of the sensor is 8 megapixels, and I have to say that the camera is quite usable for quick shots. It has quite a good color reproduction and does not create that much noise, which definitely is a pro, but it does lack depth of field, and a lot of that. The pictures are a bit blurry on the sides of the picture, and well, a lot of details are not visible here. So it's definitely only a camera for quick shots and not for a camera replacement. Well, if you need a camera in your phone that does perfect pictures, you should definitely put some bucks on top and buy yourself some other phone. What I also have to say is that the LED flash is not really usable as a flash, more of an emergency flashlight. When doing pictures with that on close up, it is okay, but as soon as you want to light up a full room or something, even if it is a small room, you definitely will run into issues with this LED flash. So well, thumbs down for that one. Regarding the front camera, I have to say that I was quite surprised by this one. It does not support autofocus, but it does create pretty good results. Almost no noise even in dark environments, and the pictures are perfectly sharp and well, pretty usable. So the front camera definitely is a selfie camera, I think. Regarding videos, I have to say that those show the same characteristics as pictures, but have a pretty good audio quality in my opinion. It's of course not the best one, but it's pretty usable, and well, if you don't go that much after image quality, we have a great camera for doing some quick videos here. So in the beginning I did already mention that the battery life isn't that good for the Elephone P2000. It says it has a 2650 milliamps battery, which is definitely not true. It is a maximum of 2000 milliamps or 2100 milliamps, something in this area. And this is not enough for a MT6592 phone, definitely not, even though it is clocked down. As you can see, we have a screen on time of 18 minutes now. While doing the video, I started with 100% battery, and now you see we are at 84%. So that's, well, not that good. And well, what does it mean for real life use? Well, I don't get over there with it because I use my phones pretty intense. The most I've got out of it was 2 hours of screen on time with the lowest screen brightness and a disabled 3G signal. And I got like to the afternoon with one fully charged battery, and then I need to recharge it. So the battery life is definitely not enough for me. For those of you who are just using their phone every once in a while, don't do very data intensive tasks, no GPS, just a little bit camera, a little bit calendar, a little bit email, this might well be enough, but for business users and power users it definitely isn't. So that for the battery, charging the battery, by the way, takes around 1 hour and 15 minutes or something, or 1 hour and 30 minutes. I haven't counted that exactly, but something in this range. So it's charging quite quickly, which is a plus if the battery is running low that fast. So that being said, if you need a longer battery life and love the overall package you get here, you can of course buy a second battery and carry this one around with you. This will of course extend your battery life twice, and well, that's not bad then. So what's my conclusion about the Elephone P2000? Well, it's a pretty nice phone for the money, no doubt about it. It's looking very nice, the screen is okay, the reception quality is pretty much amazing, the performance is okay, Games are not an issue with that, even if Asphalt 8 is lagging a little bit, but it's still playable. And well, it's a nice overall package. The fingerprint reader, of course, is a nice plus to have, even though it is not working that well, but that was the case with the Vivo X Play 3S as well. And yeah, you have to decide what pros and cons you can live with. Let me tell you about the cons again. The bad camera or rear camera, the front camera is okay. The little issue with the digitizer and the weak audio output through the headphone jack, and of course the low battery life, and maybe even for some the non-working gesture control and the little buggy fingerprint sensor. But all in all, it's a nice phone, so if you can live with the flaws, you can of course buy it. It's looking nice, it has a pretty good build quality, and it also seems to work quite well so far. So if you want to buy that, it's priced at around $220 at the moment, or 160 euros. You might find it cheaper somewhere. If you wait a little bit, prices are usually dropping after some time. So, well, again, if you like this phone, buy it. There is nothing that would make it totally unusable. So that being said, I hope you enjoyed watching this video. I hope I was able to help you. So, bye bye.